Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys Magic. This is Hunter, David, Steven, and Shane. Say what up, guys.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Hey, I'm still moving.
What's up, nerds?
Still moving, still grooving, still talking about legendary creatures that could be potential commanders from Universes Beyond Assassin's Creed. That's right. Still going through the Ubisoft video game. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen part 1, this is part 2 of the multicolored legendary creatures. Check the description for part 1 and also the monocolored if you want to check that out too. But hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already before we get started, because this first card is Ezio Auditore da Firenze. It's 1 and a black for a 3/2 legendary creature human assassin. Got menace, and it says assassin spells you cast have free running of black. In case you don't remember, free running says you may cast a spell for its free running cost if you dealt combat damage to a player this turn with an assassin or commander. Also, it's another ability. It says whenever Ezio deals combat damage to a player, you may pay white, blue, black, red, green if that player has 10 or less life. When you do, that player loses the game.
That's very flavorful for the game itself.
cool.
Execution.
It's cute.
Is this card good, Steven?
Yes.
Very cool.
All right, moving on.
That's it. You're ready.
I mean, I think that's all you need to know, dude.
I
I
do
think that
like
was
this
the only
card.
question.
It's true.
I
Being in
disagree.
Wooburg is very good.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything before David.
Go ahead, Dave.
It's got 3 abilities, so it's got menace. That's ability number 1. Ability number 2, it has a free running thing. I genuinely don't care about free running. And ability number 3, it says if an opponent is already pretty much dead, you can just kill them, which is not going to apply for 98% of the time that you are playing the game. So it's a 2-mana 3/2 with menace. Do you want that as your commander? It is in 5 colors.
Yeah, it's 5 colors. It's way different.
A 2-mana 5-color commander is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's all that this has got. I don't like this card at all.
Yeah, so now that David's gone, I'm gonna go ahead and go. So this card is fantastic. It comes down very early on in the game. It has menace. You can basically get those assassins out for the free running, which will be really fun. I love 5-color decks, so Wooburg is really fantastic to see here. I understand everyone's big point, like, oh, they're at 10 or less life. Let's go ahead and like that's 98% of the game, or I mean, you're basically at the end game. But there are tons of ways, and I'm going to talk about specifically 2 of them that are pretty good for this deck, and that's the Sorin Planeswalker that basically down ticks and puts your opponent at 10 life, and then also a card like Tree of Redemption, which you can tap to make an opponent swap their life total with its toughness. So that's 13. This hits in for 3, and then you win the game.
So, real quick.
Magical Christmas Land.
Okay, that as long as we acknowledge it. You mentioned the ultimate of a planeswalker.
It's not the ultimate. It's just a down tick.
Oh, you know what? You're right. Okay, you know what? You are correct. You are correct. I apologize.
Mhm.
I stand corrected in that regard. And then you also mentioned another card that you have to put in more work for.
Yeah, but you can search that one up and then do the same thing every game, and then
Yeah, I mean, you're only playing in Wooburg. There's no way to search up for cards.
I think if you're playing this kind of style, you're gonna do what Steven says, and you're probably gonna be heavily invested in like sculpting the game to play the same way every turn, every game. I kind of
What I
want to
will
do that.
say, in addition to what I just said, it is target player.
Very slow.
And that is where this card tanks hard for me.
Yeah.
If I think with a style of card like this, you really need to be winning the game by eliminating all your opponents with like a fun little combo. But again, you are in Wooburg, but I don't think that's where this deck wants to go. I think that this is kind of like a meme style deck, which is why I think I love it the most, where you really just ruin one guy's day, and then you kind of win in your heart, you know?
Fair enough.
I don't
It's
want to
true.
win in the heart. I want to win in the game.
Nah, man,
This-
not with this one.
This reminds me of a much less effective Beamtown Bullies, where it's like you pick that one player, like you lose the game, and then the other players are just like, and I don't know what to do with you.
I think that it's funny because like it reminds me of like the goad style decks to a certain extent because like you're like, oh, fantastic! I have 3 opponents. Let me goad everybody's stuff, and they won't attack me. And then you get to the end of the game and you're like, shit, they can only
Yeah.
swing at me now.
Like at the end of the game, this does. I don't want this as my commander.
I do.
I think it's solid for endgame. I think it's really solid to have a 2-mana 5-color commander. It's- because you're 5-color, there are now a lot more assassins you can go after. There's 122 assassins in 5 colors. So
And one of those is white.
I mean, we already have a 2-mana 5-color commander though.
I'm just saying this is a fun one.
What's his name?
because
Jensen or something?
You can
Yeah, but he doesn't really care about assassins and free running
no
and your
shit.
opponents having 10 or less life.
Oh,
And
he
It doesn't
doesn't.
actually care about being 5 mana. Like it
Oh.
doesn't do anything until it just like, and one player has lost the game, and that one player who lost the game was already really close to of losing the game. Oh, and your commander also had to have been able to push through, which it's got menace, it's cute, but like, oh no, man, they've got 2 mana dorks. My commander's probably gonna die.
Listen, when I think about this card, I think about all the other cards I could play as a commander. And, you know, for 1 more mana, could I play Aslask at 5 color and have Annihilator triggers? Sure, man. Like, yeah, of course I could, but
Yeah.
my opponents wouldn't be at 10 life or whatever, you know?
I feel like 3 of us are being very sarcastic with this card, and one of us is trying to be very genuine.
Is that you?
No,
Oh,
I'm not the genuine person. I think at this point I have petitioned for my argument as to why it is I don't like this card.
This
No.
card is fantastic.
Yep,
Look,
there's the
man.
guy.
I'm just saying, cheat out big things for cheaper cost. When is that ever not good? There are some
Talia.
heavy hitter
you
assassins that you can
Oh.
cheat them out for 2 mana.
Yeah, how many heavy hitter
Yes.
assassins can you think of? Because I can think of exactly 1.
Vein Ripper.
Never heard of it.
New. Murders of Karlov Manor.
Oh, is that the vampire?
It's a vampire assassin.
Yeah, it's a 6 mana vampire. It's got ward and sacrifice a creature. The card is okay at best.
And you can cheat it out for 2 mana.
Yep. After combat, wait a full turn cycle to get back to you, and hopefully it's 6 round.
You could do Masker Girl. You
That
could do
kills your
both
things.
You
That
could do
kills
both
Ezio.
Masker Girls. I'm just saying, man. You could do Queen Marchesa.
You know what you
There's-
could do instead of cheating out Queen Marchesa? You could actually just play Queen Marchesa, which is so much of a better card.
I
Can
like
we
this
please
card.
move on to the grades?
Sure. Let's move on to the grades. We'll start with you.
I'm gonna say that because of the fact that it is 5 colors, that's a saving grace. This is a D at best.
wow.
I'm so opposite of you. I'm going with a B.
I think it's in the B area. I'm gonna go with my gut.
I can't give this anything less than a B.
There we go. Ezio Auditore da Firenze gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to another Ezio. It's Ezio, Blade of Vengeance. 3 blue-black for a 5/5. Legendary creature, human assassin. It's got Death Touch. This is whenever an assassin you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Dave, you were really low on the last Ezio. What do we think of card draw?
I like card draw. This is once again a creature type that I don't care about. It's a 5 mana card. There's better ways to do this. I don't like this card at all. I think this is very vanilla. It's kind of cute at absolute best.
It's meant to be vanilla, yeah.
A reminder text. Obviously, it's from a starter deck.
Yeah.
It is supposed to be basic and to the point.
I'm curious how that starter deck works, though. Gotta be enough assassins in there to make this guy.
It's
Not
Assassin's
much
Creed
card,
starter deck. Steven, this is Demir. What do you think?
It sucks.
Okay, let's move on to the grades. Steven, it's Demir.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I hate doing this, but I'm actually going to give this card an F. I like the fact that it's the mirror. I know I just said it sucks. I didn't really get into it too much, but I rather play a card like Basim, like we talked about in the last video, that enables a lot better card draw. This being 5 mana is just super aggressive. especially with removal running rampant in EDH. I really do not like this card whatsoever.
I don't know. I think this is middle of the road. I think because it's whenever an assassin controls deals combat damage, that's you're just drawing cards whenever something does combat damage as an assassin. You have a Maskwood Nexus. Everything's an assassin. That's just one example. And this has Death Touch. So who's blocking?
It's a
Anyone.
5/5. Anyone's blocking this. It doesn't matter that this card has Death Touch. It's redundant. It's got enough
I mean,
power
just
where it should probably kill whatever blocks it anyways. I like this more than the last Ezio. I'm going to give this one a D.
Yeah, he's middle of the road, but I'm gonna say D, not middle of the road. The starter deck.
Ezio, Blade of Vengeance, gets the average grade of a D. And the final Ezio, it's Ezio Brash Novice. It's 1 and a hybrid, red-white. For a 1/1 legendary creature human. It says whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And as long as it has 2 or more counters on it, it has first strike and is an assassin in addition to its other types.
Hmm.
Look at that. We have a non-assassin so far.
What can
Because
become
he gains
assassin?
assassin.
Yeah.
It's growing into an assassin.
I really like the consistency that they've had with Ezio and keeping on theme.
That you don't
But
like
you
it?
love it?
None of these cards are playable.
One's got a lot of hoops to go through.
It's an
Slow.
attack trigger at least.
Pretty
Doesn't
much
have to-
one hoop.
No, but I mean, like, it's like 14 steps for it to do anything.
One
Comes out
step.
super easy.
Mm. Doesn't feel like a commander then.
I mean, you have to cast it. That is
Yeah.
a hoop for most commanders now.
And then
after you have cast it,
if you attack
then you
twice,
get to swing with it.
yeah, you gotta attack twice. So in 3 turns, it'll be a first strike assassin. I don't know, man. That's
Who's
all it
gonna
does.
block a 2-mana 1/1?
And that's what?
2-mana 2/2.
Everybody?
What are you talking about? Why are we still talking about this?
It's 2-mana 2/2. It's one of the attacks. It gets a counter.
Uh-huh.
But whenever it turns on, it gets first strike and becomes an assassin because that's very relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, because lore. Ezio for me, it's a D. Still does something.
A D?
Yep.
I'm gonna give
He's
him an
gross,
F.
man. He ain't gonna give it an F.
I'm giving it an F.
It's an F.
It's a D.
Wow.
Hey, Ezio Brash Novice gets the average grade of a D. Moving on to Havi, the Allfather. It's 3, a red, a green, and a white for a 6/6 legendary creature God Warrior. It says it has indestructible as long as there are 4 or more historic cards in your graveyard. It also has Sage Project, which means whenever Havi or another legendary creature you control dies, return target legendary card with lesser mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Dave, what do you think of a God Warrior?
Ooh, there's a lot to unpack here. 6 mana is a lot. 6/6 is fairly sizable. This, if you build it correctly, can pretty easily have indestructibles. So that's cute. However, that second ability can be really powerful.
Right. I mean, as long as you don't focus on him dying, right? I don't think you want to. I'm hoping it's gonna be the other creature.
No, you don't want him to die, but like you can have other legendary creatures. You can. The only problem here is like because you have to count down, you can't loop. But like
Yeah.
that is potentially a massive amount of card advantage because like you're not exiling things out of your graveyard, so it's not like your graveyard is shrinking over the course of the game. You're just kind of like switching what's in it.
Yeah. It's also not a May, so it's like the top part could be turned off at some point on accident.
I don't think I'm not worried about the top card or the top part. Like red has access to a lot of rummaging and looting effects. Green has access to a lot of self-mill. Like I think that realistically speaking, if you build this deck even like kind of putting in some effort, this is 6 mana for a 6/6 with indestructible whenever it hits play.
Makes sense.
I do like that second ability. I just don't like 6 mana.
Yeah, I don't like 6 mana either. 6 mana is a lot. And then if, guess what? Indestructible does not get around exile effects.
So I said it's cute.
So 6 turns to 8. That turns to 10 very
That's-
quickly.
That's just math.
That is math. Steven, what do you think of Javi?
Sucks.
So far, so good with these thoughtful analyses.
Man of many words.
Let's move on to the grades. Dave, what are you giving Javi?
I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna say it's middle of the road. This is one of those cards where it's like, I would love to play up against this deck after somebody has built it because I think it's very cool and unique, and I like it. I just don't think it's like great.
I completely agree with you. 100%. It's a C for me too.
I also agree with you. Middle of the road C.
To see.
Javi the Allfather is a god that gets a C. Moving on to Haytham Kenway. It's 2, a white and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature human knight. It's got protection from assassins. And it says other knights you control get +2/+2 and have protection from assassins. It also says when it enters the battlefield for each opponent, exile up to one target creature that player controls until Haytham Kenway leaves the battlefield. That is a pretty powerful effect to get rid of one of somebody's, like, everybody's one thing. That's pretty cool.
I thought you were talking about the protection from assassins. I was gonna say, yeah, super powerful.
Super powerful.
This is an assisting card in my opinion.
Is it?
This card is
Ah.
awful.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hunter, why are you trying to sell it so much? Is it?
Is it? Steven, do you think it's awful?
Yes.
Is it?
Why?
Oh. Why didn't you say is it, Hunter? What
I mean, it's very niche, right? Obviously. I think that's the thing. You build this as a knight deck, really?
the-
I think this would I would much rather this slot into Sidar,
100%.
Jabari of Zalfir than anything.
Yes, don't say
What do
Davis.
you mean?
I
Dave?
actually I would not play this even in that deck, and I think that is like the best place to put it.
You're crazy.
That third line of text, the field, or I'm saying not the field, the Fiend Hunter kind of effects that hit all of your opponents are such massive hate generators that like this doesn't
Duh.
survive a turn rotation ever.
I mean, Jabbar is a
I mean, whatever.
Yeah,
It just
it
Sidar
dies and it comes back.
brings it back.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but what you've just done is told the entire table the best way to deal with my annoying piece is to kill me. So now what you've just done is you've turned a game of Commander into a game of archenemy. This is the kind of card that I look at and it's like, it has such a massive piece of hate that I play this and I'm gonna die. I'm going to lose the game because my opponents are gonna make me priority number one.
Yeah.
All right, so we basically talked about why this card isn't good as a support piece in another deck. I think we can move to the grades as a commander.
I mean that like even as a commander at that point, it's doing it all the time because at that point like it's I guess in Sadir, yes, it does come back. It does have that recursion, but like if this is your commander, it also has that recursion as well. The first piece there, that's flavor text. The second piece, cool. Put this in a night deck. That's cute. The third piece completely kills this for this, or for me, for this entire card.
I like
the
this
I
card
mean,
a lot.
I will say, David, the only thing obviously, if you build this as your commander, it is a little too niche being protection from assassins. I like the fact that knights would get +2/+2, but you are in a very good colorway to get blink effects. And I think that's kind of where this deck wants to go. Again, as soon as it leaves, when you blink it, all that stuff comes back. That's kind of like the crappy thing. But I
Not
mean,
necessarily.
you could still, I mean, to a certain extent, I mean, unless you're building this, which obviously you would, in the aspect where those things wouldn't come back, but that's a lot of setup.
Well, I mean, if you're attacking tokens and stuff like that, obviously they're never coming back. And if you're just continuously attacking your opponent's commanders, they really have an option to continuously pay that 2 extra cost by putting it back in the command zone
Well,
or keeping it underneath. But if you're blinking, just continuously taking their commander is pretty cool.
you don't have to take their commander. You can use this as like an ability where it's like you can get rid of this effect, or like you can blink this on top of the initial ETB. That way, they never get their thing back. So like it exiles, but it exiles before it's ever even seen that this thing has like had the, or like it's left before it's exiled for its initial time. Therefore, like it never sees on that initial thing that it exiled that it has left. There's ways that you can stagger this where you can permanently remove your opponent's creatures.
So you like this
Ah,
card.
The stack.
That's
I
you
don't
like
like
this
this
card,
card.
right?
I don't like this card at all because of how much hate this generates. It's like this is a card that if this is my commander, I know I'm the first person to die.
I don't know. Because they might say, I don't have assassins.
That's true.
The assassin part here is completely irrelevant. That's flavor text.
Oh,
The
I
only
know.
thing about this is that third ability. Like the first ability, don't care about whatsoever. The second ability, I think that one is actually really cool, and I wish that was all the card had. And if it only had those first two abilities, I'd actually be much higher on this. But because of the third ability and how much hate that generates, I'm completely put off of this card.
That's some
That's
wild
so.
That's
takes.
why I
That is
love
a
it.
crazy thing to say. Is
Yeah.
this card's better, so I don't like it more.
Now, I think that this card would be better if it had less words on it.
I know you're saying because this card is better that you don't like it.
I don't think that it's better. It does more. Doing more is not better. That third ability there is completely a negative because
You
of
know what,
the
David?
impact that it has on a game.
I think I'm going to agree with you. I think that if this card removed the simple text of protection from assassins, it would be an A.
Let's move on to the grades. David, because it exiles things, what's your grade?
I'm gonna be upfront and I'm gonna be like completely truthful here. This card is an F.
I love when you're truthful.
It's a C from me.
I think it's also a C, but in Jabari it's an A.
I think this card's actually a B. I was kind of low, and then I kept talking about it, and then David talked about why it was good and why it was a hate generator, and it made me really happy.
Haytham Kenway gets the average grade of a C. Next up, Kassandra Eaglebear. It's a red and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature, human assassin warrior. It's got haste, and it says when it enters the battlefield, search your graveyard, hand, and library for a card named the Spear of Leonidas. Put it onto the battlefield and shuffle. Whenever a creature you control with a legendary equipment attached to it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
Why do we not have the Spear of
I
Leonidas?
was say, what does the Leonidas Spear do?
Well, the Spear of Leonidas is 2 and a red for a total of 3 mana. It is a legendary artifact equipment, and it says whenever the equipped creature attacks, you choose 1. It either gains double strike until end of turn. You create Phobos, a legendary 3/2 red horse creature token. You could also discard 2 cards and then draw 2 cards, and this has an equip cost of 2.
So yeah, the Spear of Leonidas is pretty cool. But what do we think about this as a card? Because it's whenever a creature you control with a legendary equipment. So yeah, Spear of Leonidas is a legendary artifact equipment, but it doesn't have to be.
Be any legendary, yeah, you're right.
Hunter, hit me
mean-
with those numbers. Legendary equipment.
38.
What's the little spear thingy that gets rid of hexproof? The
Shadow Spear.
Theros?
Shadow
Thank
Spear.
you.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Card draw.
Yeah. I mean, listen, man, this is a card that was printed.
Get Helm of the Host, and then that's legendary equipment, and then it makes copies of Kassandra, and then Kassandra could trigger multiple times because you have multiple copies, and that's cool.
But I mean, like on the bright side, this is a tutor that tutors directly into play for one very specific card, but like it's not a bad equipment.
It's true.
But it could die to removal.
Yeah, but it's a good thing that whenever your commander enters the battlefield, it also can just grab the spear from the graveyard.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I tried to
Suck
talk
for
this
this
card
in
up.
exile.
I just still don't think it's that good though. But Boros card draw is always fun. I don't know. Let's move on to the grades. I'll start. It's middle of the road. It's a C.
I'm going to go down to a D.
Yeah, I'm gonna join Steven. This is a little too niche and a little too slow. It's a D.
Sorry, Hunter. It's got to be a D.
All right. Kassandra Eaglebear gets the average grade of a D. Moving on to Lydia Frye. It is the granddaughter of the two. 2 and a hybrid blue-black for a 3/2 legendary creature human assassin. It says it can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. And at the beginning of your end step, surveil X, where X is the number of tapped assassins you control.
Ooh,
Dave, we've been talking about assassins and how much you love them.
that's a great kindred.
What do you think of Lydia?
I can't wait for David to say, why do you keep asking me first?
I mean, she's relatively unblockable, and she's got this cute ability where she surveils 1.
Go ahead, Steven. Tell me why it's great then.
I mean, she has a pretty niche ability where she can't be blocked a lot, and she gets to surveil at least 1.
Because it's power 3 or greater. This card is it's almost always blocked.
Maybe.
If your opponent has a
Totally.
mana dork, they've got a blocker. If they've got a Drannith Magistrate, they've got a blocker. If they have like literally any kind of support piece,
Are you trying to say that
they've got a
my
blocker.
opponents would give up one of their pieces of
No.
utility?
Because it's a 3/2. Am I going to trade my piece of utility for your commander? Probably.
Well, she's
But
cheap. Cast her again.
She's not that cheap. She's 3. So next turn, you know what? Yeah, you traded your commander, which you're now going to spend 5 mana and probably a whole turn casting, for my 2-drop. I think I'm okay with that trade.
That's why I'm not swinging at you. Swinging at another opponent.
Luckily, there's 3 other people.
2 other people, but yes.
That's what I meant.
I mean, I guess on the good side, not that I'm happy with this card, lots of utility in this set to give this unblockable, which is really cool. I like the surveil mechanic. Obviously, you're in Demir, you're reanimating, you're card drawing. That's kind of where I stop.
Yeah.
Like, if this were Connive, I think I would like it a lot more because at least that gives this card the opportunity to grow.
Hell yeah.
But I just feel like Surveil's just not doing it.
Connive would be nuts.
I don't think Connive would be nuts. I think Connive would just make this playable.
Well, let's move on to the grades. Jane, kick us off.
She's a D, sorry.
D.
You got
Yeah.
hybrid mana, which makes me think she might be a D.
I will also give Lydia Frye a D as well. Which brings us to the average grade of a D. Moving on to a historical figure in real life, it's Mary Reed and Bonny. One a blue and a red for a 3/3 legendary creature, human assassin pirate. It's got haste. As an ability, you can tap it, draw a card, then discard a card. And whenever you discard an island, pirate, or vehicle card, you create a tapped treasure token. What do we think, Steven?
Interesting. I love the fact that it comes down and starts to rummage immediately. I do enjoy that. It's weird though.
Is it?
Like, I hate the fact that you said that on an Is It card. I mean, I honestly do think it's weird. I mean, like, reanimating an Is It isn't normally that big. But I mean, like, when you're doing spellcasty things and you have like Mizzix Mastery, I think that's kind of fun. But then again, it doesn't really care about instant sorceries. So that's why I do think it's interesting.
I like this card a lot. I think the capability of making those tap treasure for later on, and sure, you're discarding things that you might want later, but if you build around it, you can get those cards later.
It's a bummer that it's a tab treasure, though, right? Not having access to it right now is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, that is a bummer.
I mean, it only happens once unless you have some untap effects. That can happen at least a couple more times in a turn cycle. In my mind, I like where the direction of this card is going. I just think that I like N-word Kenway a little bit more just because it gives you the treasure and it's not tapped and you're adding an extra color pip. I don't know. This card kind of confuses me because I like it, but I hate it.
I think that they function a little bit differently.
Oh, they
Like-
100% function very differently.
Like, coming in at 3 mana, I feel like that makes this a commander that does have the potential to be very relevant, especially given the fact that, like, it has an ability that it does have haste, so you are going to be using this pretty consistently on turn 3. The tap treasure obviously being a bit of a downside. I did play around with this as a commander just to build this deck, and this is so weird. Pirates, fortunately, they are a creature type that is actually relatively pretty solid in Commander, especially for just like Is It in general. There's a lot of really good ones out there, although some of the better ones are a little bit more pricey as far as like money wise. Vehicles I don't care about, and then like islands, your deck is going to be running them, but at a certain point it gets a little bit weird, and like the better your mana base, the less relevant that is because the fewer islands you're going to be having. So this like kind of rewards you for playing with a very primitive mana base.
That's true.
There are cool things that you can do with this, like Goblin Engineer, or like Trash for Treasure style effects, where it's like you can replace that treasure with one of the big heavy hitting heavy hitting artifacts in your graveyard.
True.
Like I mean, a turn 4 like Darksteel Colossus is kind of scary, and that is something that is very doable in this kind of deck.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. I still kind of like it.
it's weird. It's one of those that like I feel like it reads really well. And then if you play with it, it also plays kind of clunky.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I don't know. Well, let's move on to the grades, and we will start with you, David.
I'm gonna give this a C. I'm almost tempted to give this a B. I feel like there's just like something that I'm missing with this that like I need that light bulb, that aha moment. So somebody please in the comment down below provide that for me. What is that piece that I'm missing here? But I'm gonna give it a C for now.
I might actually go down to a D.
I'm gonna stick with David on this one. This is a C from me.
Yeah, I think she's middle of the road. C.
Mary Reed and Bonny. It's the average grade of a C. Moving on to quite the name, it's Ratonhnhake, which is a white, a blue, and a black for a 3/3 legendary creature, human assassin. It says as long as it hasn't dealt damage yet, it has hexproof and can't be blocked. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 black assassin creature token with menace. When you do, return target equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then attach it to that token.
Wow.
That's cool.
I think that's really strong, dude.
It's always going to get in for damage.
I would imagine.
What is that? What is that Elder Dragon that has that kind of same thing of like it has hexproof until it attacks?
That would
Zurgo?
be Zurgo and Ojutai. Well, that has hexproof always until it's not your turn.
No, there's an Elder Dragon that has it. It's a big flying beat stick that has like hexproof until it attacks. I don't know, dude. I think it says like cute things that make me want to like it, but like a hexproof and can't be blocked for a short period of time is relatively irrelevant.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, this would be quite the kind of equipment matters deck, right? Voltron. This is going in for damage for a lot.
This assumes that you have been able to load this up to be able to deal 21 damage in a single hit.
Potentially.
It loses hexproof.
That's it. That's if equipment that you have attached to it also doesn't give hexproof.
And I guess that's true as well. I feel like in order for this card to be relevant, like you need to be able to put the pants on it super quickly to make this thing absolutely gigantic and then swing in and kill somebody before board wipes start happening. I just think that this is not something that's going to happen because that's going to happen like 2, maybe 3 turns after this thing hits play that board wipes are going to be like online and able to take this out, even with the pants on it.
I don't know. I like the fact that even if the equipment was to die, this still brings that stuff back.
I feel like that's not. I feel like it's more of like a reanimate, like a let me go find an equipment, and put it into the graveyard or self mill, and like I don't even know if there's a card that you can go find an equipment and throw it into your graveyard.
The reanimation though seems nuts. It's not just back to the field though. It's like on a creature too. Like that after the one connect. Like that just seems like they're gonna want to deal with the commander, but then the token it made is probably gonna be more of a problem, right?
No,
We
Why?
could just do.
It's got menace and has the equipment now.
I mean that's cute, but like what equipment can you think of that would be that scary?
I don't know. I'm sure there's scary equipments out there though.
By the way,
like,
Dave,
I'm-
you could just do Entomb. Entomb is just search your library for a card.
Yeah, I don't know. My thought is like even if you're going with something like gigantic, like a colossal hammer or something, it's like that's a really cool card. It's potentially going to attach itself to a 1/1. Like that can hit me 4 times before I die.
I mean, you can just switch it over to this once it's on the field.
Oh, I understand that, but then that becomes like, am I that was more so in like defense of Shane's argument of like, do you want to deal with the commander or the token? If you put the pants on the commander, I just only have to deal with the commander.
You also have the new equipment Excalibur from this set, which is also +10, +0.
Yeah, so like even I don't know, it's cute. I don't like put the pants on commanders.
I like this card. This is a count me in type of card.
Me too.
Steven,
That's good.
is this how you're doing all this whole video? Sucks. It's good.
I mean, it's a great card. Comes down early. It's a 3/3. It's got hexproof. I honestly like the fact that it gives you that versatility to take the focus off your commander and put it onto something else that is probably a little bit more scary. I think that a deck like this is more susceptible to board wipes than anything. I think target removal, it'll probably try and remove the token rather than anything else. I mean, I understand to put the boots on and give this hexproof or shroud or something like that, but I think this is a pretty solid, viable option for equipment style decks.
Let's move on to the grades. Dave, what are you giving this?
I'm gonna give it a D. I don't think it's very good.
I like it. You can do some things with it, but I'm still middle of the road. It's a C.
I like it too. I think it has some pretty cool recursion. I still think it's middle of the road though. See,
I think it's a little bit better than that. I think it's actually a B in my mind. I mean, really strong colors for this kind of commander, and the recursion's fantastic with it going straight on to a creature rather than having to pay that mana to equip anything on your next turn. So I'm gonna put this at a B.
Well, Ratonhnhake gets the average grade of a C. Moving on to Shao Jun. It is a blue and a red for a 3/3 legendary creature human assassin. It's got Leap Strike, which is as long as it's your turn. Shao Jun has Flying and First Strike. And Rope Dart, which means tap 2 untapped artifacts you control. Shao Jun deals 1 damage to each opponent.
way to break that?
A combo
Yeah.
breaker.
Is there a way to break that?
Absolutely.
Deal infinite damage, kill everyone. It does say each opponent, so that's a one shot, right? Not a one shot, but you know what I mean.
Is there a way to break this?
Steven
Mhm.
says absolutely, so I believe him.
There's an enchantment that does this pretty much exact same thing.
Got some hoops to go through, but I promise you, it can very easily be broken, and you are in a very good color scheme to search for said pieces.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like
But-
combo decks, so
Is it-
I hate winning early.
I do too. Wait, oh, you're talking to me.
So there is an enchantment that was printed back in Kaladesh or Aether Revolt, one of the two. It's geared per Aether Grid, which says you can tap the 2 untapped artifacts you control to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. This will deal it to each opponent. So I guess it's different. You can't kill their things, but you can start to kill your opponents, and it is going to hit all of your opponents instead of just like one thing.
Specifically, that was from Magic Origins.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, it sounded like it was from Kaladesh or Aether Revolt. So my apologies.
I'm still on the train that Steven said it's breakable, so it's breakable, and I think that you'll combo off and kill everyone.
I mean, yeah, there's the dramatic reverse size Crown Scepter that you can go ahead and do and untap all the things that you just tapped, tap them again, and eventually just go ahead and kill your opponents that way, right?
Right.
So I see
I
the
mean,
potential.
A quick little search for combos with the previous enchantment. Most of these were relying on 3 card combos.
Well, now it's on your commander, so it's cheaper.
No, it's still 3 card combos.
What he's talking about, you looked up with Gear Pro.
Yeah, I looked up specifically for Gearper. I would imagine with this being a new legendary creature, like it's not listed yet.
But Shane was replying that it's on your commander, one of the cards.
Yeah, so I mean, it does make it easier, but it's still 3 pieces that your opponents do have access to, like intervene and respond to take out some of those pieces. Generally speaking, if you're trying to play with combos, the fewer pieces, the less opportunity for your opponents to interrupt your combo.
True. Best thing about this, though, I won't lie to you, is this is instant speed. So as they go to remove said pieces, you can restart said combo.
I love when you're not lying to me.
I'll never lie to you.
Let's move on to the grades. We will start with Shane.
I mean, I see the potential there. Doesn't mean I won't play it, but I'll still give it a B.
Can't do it. It's going to be a C from me.
Yeah, I'll give it a C. Outside of like a specific combo line that I actually don't even think is all that good. I think this card is just kind of like, it's cute.
All right, and I can't do it either. So I'm going to give it an A.
Really?
I saw Steven there. I saw him.
Absolutely. This is Spell Slinger. Is it doing combo things and it's cheap? Absolutely.
Shao Jun gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to a pair, but not an actual pairing. It's Shaun and Rebecca, agents. It's 1 green, white, blue for a 4/4 legendary creature human, assassin, scientist. It's got vigilance, and it says when it enters the battlefield, search your graveyard, hand, and library for a card named the Animus and put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle. Has another ability we can tap it, add a colorless mana. When you do, mill 2 cards.
That's an expensive mana dork.
Yeah, the Animus, if you guys were curious, says it costs 2 for a legendary artifact that says at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target legendary creature card from a graveyard with a memory counter on it. You can tap it until your next turn. Target legendary creature you control becomes a copy of target creature in exile with a memory counter on it. Activate only as a sorcery.
Interesting. You're going to turn your commander into something bigger? Or I guess other things on the field? That just means more setup.
Yeah, depends on if a legendary card is in an opponent's graveyard or your graveyard.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is the color combination to go ahead and filter through your deck and discard. So you can do that and get something big in the grave.
You're also tapping and milling yourself. Might help.
I think it's cool.
Nope.
Didn't even get to
Go
ask
ahead
him.
and tell me why it's nope.
I don't know. I just don't like this card. I don't like the color combo. I don't like what it does.
4 mana for a 4/4 is pretty good.
Is it?
I think we've been power crept up to the point where it's like 4 mana for a 4/4 is actually not very good anymore.
What
4 mana
about
for
with
4/4
vigilance?
Diligence that
Like-
also taps for mana.
We're getting better.
We know David hates 3 mana rocks, so why would we try and do a 4 mana rock?
Well,
Like,
if the mana
look.
rock had vigilance,
Honestly, it's not even the mana rock aspect of this. It's really just like the mill 2 cards. Having a commander that has the ability for me to be able to just like consistently put things on the graveyard. It does have a tutor effect. That's really cute. It's also incredibly annoying because if somebody does deal with the Animus and you recast your commander, you can grab it again. And it does put it directly into play.
Yeah.
So like there is that sense of like your shields are up in an extent of like your opponents really can't hurt you too much. Also, you're in Bant. Very good whenever it comes to card draw. Very good whenever it comes to protecting your commander. This card
Yeah.
has a lot going for it, but it's just not. I don't feel interesting.
do you think it'd be interesting though to like turn your commander into a bunch of different creatures and beat face? I mean, it'd be a viable route to go down.
I mean, actually, now that you mention it, there are a lot of like really big scary things that you could put into the graveyard and be able to just like self mill into with this and have your commander become a copy of that.
Yeah, it doesn't even take mana. You just tap the Animus.
All right, Shane, you're talking me up here.
Wow, I like it. What do you think, Steven? Any final thoughts?
no.
Okay. Moving on to the grades. Steven, kick us off.
I'm just gonna put it at a C. It does something. It does a little bit better than other things that do things that are shitty. So middle of the road.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm middle of the road as well. I think Shaun and Rebecca is a C.
Now, I know I was talking up some cool things. I want to give it a B, but it just feels fragile. But I think I'm still gonna go with my gut. I'll say B.
You know what? Shane talked me up. I don't like Ulamog as a commander, but Shane and Rebecca Ulamog can be pretty cool. So, I'll give it a B.
Say Shane and Rebecca. What I heard.
I probably did. You're on the card now.
Okay.
Shaun and Rebecca Agents gets the average grade of a B. Next up, Shay Cormac. It's white and a black for a 1/1 legendary creature human knight rogue. Got an ability to pay 1 permanents your opponent's control, lose hexproof, indestructible, protection, shroud, and ward until end of turn. Has another ability that says whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes the target of a spell or ability you control, put a bounty counter on that creature. And finally, whenever a creature with a bounty counter on it dies, put 2+1/+1 counters on Shay Cormac. This is cool, right?
Bounty counties.
Bounty counties. The ability to just have this in your command zone just to pay once it's on the field, obviously just pay 1 and just turn off ward. I love that.
That's probably the
turns-
best part of that.
This turns off so much more than ward.
Yeah, I know, but
Your opponent is gonna look at their Achroma's will and just be like, "Oh man."
I mean, you're not wrong.
True.
I feel like maybe we just see Ward more often now.
We
But yeah,
do.
that's true.
I hope they print more of these effects.
The loose Ward, yeah.
Just
I-
lose ward.
I love this a lot as a politics commander of just like, hey, dude, we got to deal with that thing with indestructible. Who's got removal?
Yeah, it's fun. I like it.
Is the bottom, I don't know, the bottom part though seems like typically when things are targeted by spells or abilities, aren't they already being killed? Oh, but that,
Not necessarily.
That's why it's really good.
because the counter would go on before it dies, is that what's happening?
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, you read the magic card from top to bottom.
Well, I mean, shut up.
I still like that first part. I know the second part, obviously, you're going to have to target your opponent's stuff with your stuff. to get those
Obviously,
bounty
Hunter, yeah.
counters. Obviously, if you read the card, it's what it says. But I still think it's pretty cool.
I don't know. Kind of doesn't, not very cool anymore.
I like this still a lot because even if it's just like you're playing around with like tap target creature, guess what? You just targeted their creature and you tapped it. So like this is a commander for those kind of decks. Plus, it allows you to just continuously make sure that you can target them because they just don't have hexproof or indestructible so long as this card's in play. Is it going to win games? No. Are people going to be annoyed? Yes. Is that where I like this card? Also, yes. And does that say something about me? I'm
Also,
sorry.
yes.
Well, let's move on to the grades and start with you then, David.
I'm gonna give this a C. It's not good. It looks like a lot of fun. I might build this.
What do we think,
Uh,
Hunter?
I'm going to give it a B. I still like it. Still good.
I'm bouncing back between an A and a B. I think it's memey enough to where I want to give it an A, but at the same time, I think it's a solid B for sure. So I think I'll just stick with B.
I'm just gonna give it a C. No, wait.
All right.
I'm gonna give it a B.
Okay.
You already said C, man.
Hopefully, I'm the one that clicks.
Shay Cormac gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to Sigurd, Jarl of Ravensthorpe. It's red, green, and white for a 3/3 legendary creature human warrior. It's got vigilance, it's got trample, it's got lifelink. It's got boast. 1. Put a lore counter on target saga you control or remove 1 from it. Remember what boast is. Activate only if this creature attacked this turn and only once each turn. It also says whenever you put a lore counter on a saga you control, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 other target creature. You got a bunch of sagas in play. Every time you put a lore counter on something, you put a +1/+1 counter on something else. That seems cool.
The other one we talked about was that last video. Was like the 7 mana 7/6 that cared about sagas. This one's way better.
Regard, yeah.
I think this one's way better because you can manipulate like lore counters on them, and buff up 3 relevant keywords. Like, I like this guy a lot.
Yeah, he's really cool. The ability to just kind of keep your sagas around is great.
Yeah, removing a lore counter means that your sagas can potentially never go away.
Mm-hmm.
Which
And
seems
boast
really
is
good.
on attack, so
It's a good thing that this has. It's cheap. It's got relevant abilities, and it gets big very fast.
yeah. The one thing that I wish that would make this card so much better if you could put the counters on itself.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I still like this card.
But don't get me wrong, I do too. I was memeing on the whole like saga deck before, but I could see this one actually being a thing. Right, Steven?
Nah,
Aw.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, you're going to be swinging as much as you can. I don't know. I'm here and I'm not here for it. I think Vigilance, Trample, and Lifelink are definitely nothing to scoff at, but uh, it's just very meh. I don't know. I normally, like, when I read a card and I'm super into it, I'm like, yeah, that's good. But I don't get that when I read this card.
Hmm.
Fair enough.
Well, let's go ahead and make this a quick one. Let's move on to the grades, and we will start with you, Steven.
Yeah, Hunter, I think I'm just gonna give this a C. Pretty middle of the road here.
Well, I'm going to go one up from that. I like this card a lot, so it's going to be a B from me.
I'm also with you, dude. I kind of think it's a B.
I think I'm going to give this a B as well. Making your lore counters reduction thing there is very powerful.
Well, Sigurd, Jarl of Ravensthorpe. The average grade of a B. Moving on to the final card we're talking about today. It is another historical figure. It's Sokrates, Athenian teacher. It's 1, a white, and a blue for a 0/4 legendary creature, human advisor. It's got defender, and it says it has hexproof as long as it's untapped. It also has an ability where you can tap it until end of turn. Target creature gains. If this creature would deal combat damage to a player, prevent that damage. This creature's controller and that player each draw half that many cards. Rounded down. You love card draw, right, Shane?
I love giving people card draw that maybe isn't me, because card draw wins games. I mean, you're controlling what feels like all of combat forever, which is good. But at the downside, if the combat's not at you, you're giving two other people card draw. It's like it's good, but like if David and Steven are over there dilly dallying and I'm drawing them cards, like why am I doing that? But I don't know.
I don't think I like this card.
No,
Yeah,
it's because the
like
card
that.
draw or what?
No, because I don't think it's as good of a card draw engine as what you. I don't think it's a very good card draw engine.
It's a
Like,
great card draw engine.
so here is the thing: is that number one, he's only going to be able to do this once per turn cycle, unless you can find a way to untap him, which it's not terribly impossible for you to do so. But like that is at least one more hoop that you have to jump through here. The other thing being is that you're drawing your opponent's cards. I guess you can draw yourself some too. However, he only prevents damage that would be dealt to players, not anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So if your opponents choose to block, which they probably still reasonably should, he could potentially go entire turn cycles without ever drawing you a single card.
I feel like you wouldn't be swinging at the person that can block.
Okay, but like if I have a 5/5 and my opponent has a 1/1, I'm now incentivized to throw my 1/1 instead of in front of the 5/5 to prevent them from drawing two cards.
Or you're saying, hey, do you want to draw cards with me?
I mean,
And-
yeah, but that would also be like, hey, I want you to attack me. By the way, you also have two other opponents. So like, are you waiting for the third opponent, the person who's like right before your turn? Because if that's the case, like you're not really playing politics at that point. It's like I'll draw cards with you, but now I'm gonna potentially leave myself open for the other players. It's just like once you shoot your shot with this, like you are fair game for everybody else to jump in on, and you're not really gonna draw a whole lot of cards. Just because like I feel like for the most part too, it's like you're drawing half the amount of damage only from one thing to specifically a player. So like any damage that would go to creatures
Or-
still works just fine. Any damage that would go to planeswalkers still works just fine. And it's one thing.
Or you're leaving this up on just completely block duty, and you're telling people, if you swing at me, we get to draw cards together.
And that's my thing, because if you do that, opponent A says, okay, yeah, sure, fine, I'll attack you. And then opponents B and C, they're going to look at it and be like, okay, well, there's a card draw engine to play that's benefiting two players. What's the best way to eliminate the card draw engine? Let's attack that player.
Yeah, but then that player B that you just helped is going to help you.
I don't think it's going to work
No,
that
it
way.
won't.
If you help me draw cards, I'm not going to help you. I'm
Sure.
still
Well,
an
that's
opponent
not
and I want to
nice.
win the game.
Well then we okay.
We can shake our little hand there, but like that's my thing with this is that like at what point do you pull the trigger?
So I'm learning never to trust you when it
I was gonna
comes to
say,
anything.
If you're
Steven has a
playing-
phrase when we play games together. Steven, what is that phrase?
Kill David first.
There you go, dude. Like I'm sorry, but like
that's only David.
I will be more than happy to swing my biggest creature at you in hopes that you're like, oh man, now sorry, dude, you just get to draw cards instead.
I think if you're playing politics, like if that's the game you're going for, you gotta respect the politics, Dave. If we're gonna make a deal and you're gonna stab me in the back, that's some pretty bad politics.
Oh, really? Is that how you feel?
Steven, I wasn't talking
The
to
guy
you.
that I made a deal with? And
I
you
was
went back on it?
okay. I was an outlaw, if you're talking about that time.
Oh, okay. So if you're an outlaw, then you can do the
I was-
politics don't matter.
I was an outlaw. Okay.
I'm done with this
We were
video.
playing-
I'm
we
so
were
pissed
playing
right
into
now.
it.
I'm so pissed right now, dude. This card's not good. If you're playing group hug and you want to meme it, play this card. Then it's really good. If you're not playing group hug, then don't play this card. That's as simple as it gets.
Yeah, just run a bunch of wheel effects.
Or just run a bunch of
Why?
stuff that doesn't let anyone draw but you.
There's
Listen, You're
one
playing
of
this. You're playing this. You're playing Approach of the Second Sun, and that's it.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the wonderful thing about Approach to the Second Sun is that you have to reveal and cast it twice. You know how many times that I have seen the player who's like, they've cast it the first time, they're like, oh man, I gotta get this. I've got a clock now. Holy, wait, I've got 6 turns, unless I'm drawing other cards, and I've got 1, 2, 3 opponents. That's right.
Well, Dave,
And they're now all attacking me with everything.
Oh,
you-
that's
Good
right.
news.
There's no
Good
way
news.
to draw 6 cards in one turn.
I was gonna say good news. If you're being attacked, you're just gonna say, "I'm drawing half that many cards."
if you swing at me with 12, I'm gonna draw 6 right away.
No. If I swing at you at 12, you're going to tap one of my creatures that make that cumulative 12.
No, I'm assuming you have a 12/12 for me right now.
When do I ever have
I don't know.
12?
We're in Merry Christmas land.
All right, you're right.
Listen, let's just do the thing we always do. We'll talk about the same 2 cards that we always do, and that's Dramatic Reversal and Isochron Scepter.
Don't say
And
we.
you
It's
get to
you.
just untap this, tap it again, untap this, tap it again, and then nobody ever does combat damage to you, and you're just drawing your entire deck, and then you lose.
That sounds great. All right, cool.
Yeah, you could do like, what is it, Winter Orb, and just be like Superman, and just like everybody's no longer untapping things.
Yeah. This is an A.
Sounds like Steven's on board again.
This is an
Let's
F.
move on to the grades, and we will start with you, Steven.
I hate group hug with a fiery passion. It's a snake that coils around you softly and then holds you in its grip and just kills you. So this is an F.
Somebody has had some traumatic
I
experiences.
hate group hug.
I don't like group hug either, but not as a fiery passion like you do. So this is just average for me. Let's see.
I am that player that will happily take the card draw and then still kill you the following turn. Also, I mainly play like aristocrats and combo decks, so like combat's overrated. I'm gonna say that this card is that I'll give it a C because it's cute.
C for cute. I get it. Okay. I mean, I like my guy Sokrates, so I'm still gonna have to give him a C though.
Sorry.
You know what? I will say I'm going to stick with my F for another reason as well, and that's because of people like Shane who like to politic and backstab after a deal's been made.
I
So this
was an
is
outlaw.
definitely an F.
I wasn't okay.
F.
That was like 6 months ago.
I know he holds that grudge so hard.
Never been betrayed like that in my entire life.
Sokrates gets the average grade of a C. And that is going to do it for us today. If you made it this far, congratulations. That was all of the Assassin's Creed legendary creatures. If you guys haven't already seen the other videos, once again, check the description for those of the multicolored part 1 as well as the monocolored. Did you guys agree with these grades? Comment down below. Always interested to hear what you guys have to say. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. In the description, you will find links to all of our social media accounts. That's TikTok, that's Twitter, that's Instagram, @GuysThatMagic for each one. Follow us on those as well. On the screen right now, that's right. That's all of our Patreon subscribers. Thank you guys so much for your added support. It really does mean the world to us. If you guys wanted to see what they're seeing, which is not here on YouTube, it's over exclusively on our Patreon. It's in the description as well. Click that link, consider subscribing. And until the next video, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Later.
Am I moving or do I just like boxes?
Bye bye.